what they promised to do when they signed the Kyoto Protocol. Raise awareness at home.
All right. President Clinton, you raised this issue of whether you could combat global warming and what the cost might be. And I want to put it to you that there's a lot of disagreement about whether there would be costs to the economy. And you know that this current administration consistently says we don't want to go for legally binding targets because we think it's going to affect our economic growth. Do you accept that if you really go the whole hog and try to reduce climate change, it will have a deleterious effect on economic growth?
No. I mean, if you said we had to reduce greenhouse gas emissions 50% in 5 years, I would say we can't do that without shutting down major sectors of the economy. If you say we have to reduce it 50% by mid-century, I'd say I'd be astonished if doing that didn't lead to an explosion of new technologies, millions and millions of new jobs, and sustainable environmental and economic model, not just for the rich countries and for the rising rich countries like China and India, but I think it's good for Africa. And I'm not alone in this. The Prime Minister of Ethiopia is at my meeting here. He said to me, I've looked at the soil, we can produce cane sugar as efficiently as they do in Brazil. Africa should be the first continent to use no oil in transportation, none.
You know that the needs of the African people are immediate. Can they wait until these cleaner technologies come on board?
Well, there is a lot they can do. We could, for example, decide that we are not going to be the dump site for all the cars that are inefficient in the world. And we can demand that whatever cars are brought to Africa are more efficient. At the moment, what we are doing is that we are going to Dubai and we're buying whatever cars people are dumping in the market.
But you know, your president, Mwai Kibaki, has said he wants to see Kenya industrialize within 20 years or so. There is no way he can realize that ambition unless he uses carbon-based energy, which is what the West, the United States, did. And a lot of critics say America became rich and filthy at the same time, but we are being denied the same opportunity to develop.
But I think that nevertheless we need to understand that if we follow the same pattern, we do not have the technology and we don't have the capital and we don't have the knowledge that the West has to be able to clean up behind our own mistakes. So it is in our own interest that we do the right thing, even if we go slower than the West did.
Look at China. China is exactly what you described, a country that wants to develop its economy and industrial base very quickly. And watch what happens in 2008 around the Olympics. They can't have the Olympics if they keep polluting the air. And more, if you read Chinese newspapers, the government is now starting to talk about pollution from coal-fired plants in public documents, which they never would before. They're talking about the effect of smoking on people, which they never did before. You can't develop and let your people die from the result. That's not development.
But as you know, Mayor Bloomberg, China's economy is practically totally driven by coal. And one very clear statistic is, by 2012, the Chinese are going to build 562 more coal power plants.
There's a point at which the people are going to... No, I think they are getting the message.
Well, they're not if they're going to be building all these new...
So ask Chad, can they develop without more greenhouse gas?
Absolutely. What we need are clear signals of what the strategy is going to be. There's a tremendous amount of venture capital money, there's technology available, but if we don't know what the price of carbon is going to be, people are holding back. And you will see so much research going on in this country, and you'll see so many export products from this country. It could be one of the biggest booms we've ever had. Back on China. I was with a vice mayor of Shanghai 7 years ago, and he gave me the same story you're talking about. You've polluted, we got to have 50 years of pollution. I saw the same gentleman 5 years later, and he changed his position. I said, why? Our people will not tolerate it anymore. Exactly what the mayor said.
That is correct.
So
it's changed in 5 years.
You all accept but they haven't said that they're going to commit to legally binding targets all the same. They're still developing, they're still subsidizing carbon-used energy in China and India.
But look, they're moving that way. We have Chinese officials at this meeting I'm having. We have Chinese venture capitalists here. We have Chinese NGOs here, all committed to doing that. Look, let me just say, there is a central argument here. You just made it. In order for a country to grow rich, stay rich, and get richer, it has to put more greenhouse gases into the atmosphere, yes or no? Throughout the industrial era, the answer to that, the honest answer, was yes. I believe the answer now is no. I believe the answer will become a louder no with new technologies, new efficiencies. And I believe that how you stand on that will determine what China and India does. That's why I have concluded that the United States and the other advanced economies should move as quickly as we can to demonstrate to China there is a better way, because people do not like having to walk down the street in Beijing and not being able to breathe.
All right, China is obviously a very polluted country. I mean, as we know, 16 of the world's most polluted cities out of 16 of 20 are in China. But just to go back to Africa, Wangari Maathai, is this view that is being expressed here that Africa should leapfrog the dirty development, if I can put it that way, that the West enjoyed, is acceptable, that you don't have people, because I hear people say the West created the mess and wants us to clean up the dishes?